We're holding over here like this. We're holding here. This is I mean, I said the first few lines, but just let me put this advar. This shlav of the Maimer, the Rebbe Shasi the Netazeh, that there's two types of neshamis. There's neshama b'chinas ben and b'chinas evet. Chiluk ben and evet. So till now he spoke from the Eitz Chaim that the pashta chiluk between neshamas of ben and evet is neshamas of bia, neshamas which are already in the form. It's interesting that ben and evet api pashtas. The ben is from the same mahus as the father. Same, he comes from the father and he's the same mahus as the father. Mashiach and evet is a stranger. He's not. He's a other person, not nimshach from the father, from the odin. He's an other person which is mevatel himself to the father. So it wasn't really neshamas the ma, neshamas which are b'chinas ben, neshamas which are b'chinas evet. Neshamas which are b'chinas ben means that they're mimhus elukus. They're a hemshech elukus. They're in eliki. So that's naran datzilus. Neshamas datzilus means that atzilus is that's kaviyachol that olam where the whole inyan of that elam is. There's this galus of the inyanim of elukus, the milus of elukus, the keches kaviyachol of elukus. That's elam atzilus. The ebishas chachma chesed. There's nothing outside of elukus. It's all the getlech, the ebishas inyanim being this galus. So neshama, which is b'chinas ben, means that that's a neshama where it's meir, that all its keiches are inyanim alikim. It's a hemshech talikus. The b'chinas naran, that's the neshama, it's nirgash, let's say, in the neshama datzilis, it's seichel aliki, and it's chachma, it's chesed aliki. That's basically clearly the first thing. Mashig naran, the bia, a neshama which is already in the form of bia, all neshamas are moshe shnetzelis, but lapel goes through seizer shtashos, it goes through the elemus of bia. So neshama which is a neshama the bia means that it comes into the form of a nivra. When it comes to the form of a nivra, it's already a nivra, something which the Eibusha created outside of a lukus. It could be bottle to lukus, and the nesham is ala guta zachem, but it's a tzir of its mitzias which is outside of a lukus. That's the pashta beer that he said till now. The difference between Eved and Ben. Now the Rebbe Shab is going into from Vihini Yadu he's going into a deeper beer between the difference between Eved and Ben. Because the nekuda is so he's makdim two agdamas, two nekudas he's makdim. Number one is that all neshamas is mavur in Kabbalah that all neshamas are nimcha from Yichud Zun Datzilis. He says like this: from Yichud Ava, from the Yichud of Abba ve'ima means. But we're not learning the Kabbalah part. What's negel in from the Yichud Ava are neilad neshamis in Atzilis. The mechuvan of Yichud Za and Malchus is for there to be neshamis in Elamis in Bia. So all neshamis are nimsha from Yichud Zun da Atzilis. If they're nimsha from Yichud Zun, so on one hand they're moshesh in Atzilis. On the other hand, the mechuvan of these neshamis is that they should be neilad in Bia. So till now we were saying the difference between neshamas the man, neshamas the ban, neshamas the eved, neshamas the ben is the neshamas the ben are it's still meir by them. They're sheirish natzilus. Mashik and neshamas the which are b'chinas eved is it's not meir in them anymore. They're sheirish the way they are natzilus. It's the way they're nimshich and velt and elamis and bia. Now he's saying both neshamas, sai eved and sai ben, are both neshamas that's nirgash by them the way they are in they're sheirish natzilus. It's meir by them that they're. The difference is not that this neshama is in Velt and this neshama is in Atzilus. The difference is which Pchina and Atzilus is made by them. Which Indian are they? What's their function? Is their function mitzad Zad Atzilus or the function mitzad Machos Atzilus? Means the difference between neshamas the Eved and neshamas the Ben is Neveya from which Indian in a Lukus is made by them. If there so all neshamas, all Pchinas side neshamas the Eved, side neshamas the Ben are Moshe and Atzilus, and all neshamas, even the neshamas of Atzilus, are Hemshech and Velt. So what's the difference? The shaila is, what's your main function? Is your main function to express the pchina of za, or your main function is to express the pchina of malchus? The neshamas that their main is to bring out the nekud of za datzilis, so they are called neshamas datzilis, and they are neshamas the pchinas ben. Mashiach and neshama, which is also not an Indian of nivra. His Indian is malchus, but since his Indian is malchus, so mele he's shayches to velt, he's shayches to bia, and that's why he's called neshamas the evet. We'll see soon. So what's tutzach da'uf is that the difference between neshamas the ben and neshamas the evet doesn't start from the neshamas the evet don't start that everybody starts off in Atzilus. The reason why some neshamas are called evet is because they're nimshach and bia. The difference is there's two inyanim in Elokus kaviyach. There's an inyan of Zah in Elokus, inyan of Malchus in Elokus. The question is, and all neshamas are moshesh in Elokus. The shaila is every neshama has its inyan what it has to be megala. Certain neshamas are inyan to megala the pchin of Zah the Elokus, and some neshamas are inyan to megala the pchin of Malchus Elokus. That's what it does to the. You see, let's start from behind the first. We saw this inside last time. We'll go through this. The first, maybe we can start from Hiniyadu. Hiniyadu and Shams of Chinas Banav Avadim Shnei and Hemshech Yichud Zun Datzilis. Better class Havas and Shams of Chinas Atzilis. That means all the Shamas Hemshech Atzilis. B'chinas Zun the Bria in Bekechum Havas and Shams came Allah. So the Shamas are Mushish and Atzilis. Savas and Shamas and Atzilis. That Omnum Vor Sham Beitz Chaim. So if all the Shamas, Sai Ben and Sai Eved, that's what it's Hachodesh. Sai Ben and Sai Eved, the Eved doesn't start when it's Nimshech and Bia. Lechatchila shneim nemshachim chinas yichud zun da'atzilis. From mitzad yichud zun da'atzilis, mitzad yichud zav and nukva, lechatchila there's two types of neshamas which come from yichud zun da'atzilis. Not mitzvah, that's already a chiddush. Till now you were saying the reason why there's certain neshamas are called eved is mitzad that amshach welt. But mitzad the sheresh natzilis, if there wouldn't have been the ishtalshos and elumis and biyah, if all neshamas would have been bare by them the way they are mitzad sheresh and batzilis, then they would all be neshamas b'chinas ben. Here he's saying that lechatchila mitzad amshacha for yichud zun, there's two types of neshamas which are nesave, b'chinas ben and b'chinas eved. Vusham beitzchaim yichud zun held neshamas b'biyah. Shamas that's some shnei dem yichud ava. Aval neshamas shnei dem yichud zun and shnei dem b'biyah. Oh, mikomekem even not only mitzad amshachem b'biyah, but mitzad the way they're mushash in zun. Yesh was a base b'chinas banim and neshamas datzilis and b'chinas banim neshamas b'biyah. And he's going to explain behind him. A heavy neshamas d'tchul and neshamas d'nukva. So that's the difference between neshamas of b'chinas zacher of alakus and neshamas of the b'china of nekeb of alakus. Behin neshamas the ma which ikram b'chinas zah, and that's called ben neshamas datzilis, and there's neshamas the ban which ikram is b'chinas malchus. He's going to touch up. He's bavarns. Ima yes to call neshamas kulam b'chinas zav, b'chinas sadik chayam and b'chinas malchus. Even though all neshamas come from yichud zah and malchus, that means that all neshamas are mushash in zah and they're nimshach through malchus. But again, the shabbos, what's the ikr? We went through this last time. Shabbos, what's the ikr? We'll start from there. Yes, neshamas the ikr b'chinas zah dafke. Ve'ein mas'akim b'chinas iber b'malchus. K'may nishmas mesha b'chinas iber rak zayin chadashim. So what does it mean that it's not nisakev and malchus? It means shlei nishtana b'zeh be'etzem mehusis sheb'chinas neshama deman. It means his mehus is zah. He goes through malchus. That's only with derech ma'aver he goes through malchus. In order for the neshama demat to be nimshach in the guf, he has to go through malchus. But he's not mishtan. He doesn't become identified to b'chinas malchus. He's not nishtana to the mehus of malchus. V'yesh she'ikru b'chinas malchus mas'akim yesh b'chinas ibrik me'eliyah she'ibir b'yid b'schodesh. The neshama is the ban. Now neshama is the ikru b'chinas zah him b'chinas neshama datzilis. Now he starts explaining. He's connecting between this beer. So we have now two beerim between the neshamas, the eved, and the neshamas of b'chinas ben. One beer was because the neshama b'chinas eved becomes a mitzvah of a nivra. Therefore, it's neshamas of b'chinas eved. Mash enki neshamas datzilis, they're not mitztayer. They're not nislabish nitzir of a nivra. They retain, and it's mer by them the sheresh nelakus. But now we're giving a new beer. The shaila is if the ikr is zar, the ikr is malchus. That means that both of them are b'chinas neshamas, which is mer by them the sheresh. The question is which inyan elukus is mer by them, the b'china of zav elukus or b'china of malchus elukus. So now he's connecting. If the neshamas which their inyan is zav, so they always retain and they always stay in the mahus of atzilus. Mash'eki neshamas which their inyan is malchus, they safka sav, they're nimshach and they're mislabish in biyah. Means the chilik that I said before is true, but the sheresh of the chilik doesn't begin. The reason why some neshamas identify themselves and the mislabish and the tzir of biyah is not because mitzatzei their shtalshlus. It's because since they're mushish and their inyan is to bring out the b'china of malchus of alakus, so mitzat b'chinas malchus there's a slapshus in biyah, which he's going to touch up. That's what he's going to start explaining now. That's what he says. Just neshamas ikrim b'chinas zah, hein b'chinas neshamas datzilis. Why? Because gambiri doesn't lamate b'chinas datzilis. Uchyadua the zah hu saf elu mein saf. V'nimtza rei b'chal elu mein saf. Elu sheb'chinas seif. V'hainu shezah b'chinas hamshachas v'gila er datzilis. So he will just say one word, Balpeh, just to have this clear, the Hemshech Advarmer, because this is the Nekudah of the whole Hemshech. Means the Nekudah they're saying is like this. Just use it and use the difference between Zar Malchus, we use in the Mashal that Chassidus brings, in Nefesh Adam, is the difference between the Midas of the person, and the Dibur. I mean, Ava Meichin is Bechla, has no Shaykhs to Zulas. The Bechina of Meichin is when we're talking about a person, when he's looking just to understand something, just to verstehen a Zach, so he's not emotionally connected to the Indian. It's not that he's affected by the thing. He's just he stays in his own element and he's trying to understand and figure out a certain Indian. So Meichem B'derech Chaz Ba'Abdullah. We're dealing now between Midas and Malchus. Sayim Midas and Sayim Malchus. It's already the way the Nefesh has a Shaykhus to Azulas. Sayim Midas, the Pashas the Musik of Midas. A person has an avid towards something else. So there's a certain connection. There's already a yachas to the other thing. He has a feeling of kiruv towards the other thing, or a feeling of richok, yira. He's afraid of the other thing. So there's already a contact between the person and the zulas. And there's and dibur is a person's communicating something to a zulas. So there's sayin midas sayin malchus is already a sheirish makar that the nefesh is already having a contact. There's a connection between the person and the zulas. But there's a big difference between midas and malchus, which Nigel in is in midas there's saying that the person has avid towards someone else. The nekuda is not the other person. The nefesh is not in a state that there's an interest in the other person in itself. It's in Midas, the only thing that's negay is the reason why the Zulas matters is just what's my relationship to the Zulas. It's whether I have a kiruf to him. There's the Zulas has his own world. There's a Reuven and Shimon. Shimon has his own world. What things that matter to him, things that don't matter to him. He has his own world. When you speak about Reuven, there's Midas Av, Reuven is Oyev the Shimon. So what's Shimon's Legabi the Midas, what's Negay and the Zulas is, it's Reuven's relationship to the Zulas, not the Zulas itself. It's Reuven is Nimshech has a certain kiruf to Shimon, or he's afraid of Shimon. So the whole mitzvah of the Zulas is only what's Reuven's yachas to the Zulas. Mashiach in Malchus, when a person is speaking to someone else in Dibur, when a person is having communicating something, it's not your feeling clapping the other person. That's not that gush here. The emphasis is not your feeling the guy with the other person. The emphasis is the other person, that he should understand the Indian. You're communicating an idea to him in order for him to understand it. It's not your feeling, your attitude towards him. In Midas, it's not about an other. It's my avid to the other, my feeling towards the other, or I'm afraid of him. It's not about the other himself. It's the person's attitude towards the other. That's in Midas. Mashiach in Dibur, it's not about my attitude here. It's that there's the nikud over here. The emphasis over here is that the other person should understand kach v'kach and should know kach v'kach. That's beifin klali. So what's in the shal and the nimshal is, the question is, you see, there's the Eibush is b'cham muvdal from Velt. He's Amahava Velt. He's higher than the whole element of his havas. That's Meichin. Then there is the way Elokus Kaviyachal attaches itself to Metzias of Zulas. It's Mahava Velt and he's Machaya the Velt. There's a certain relationship Kaviyachal. He goes out of his own being removed, which that's the darga of Meichin. He's not removed in his own element. He's the way Elokus is Yered and Nimshach and he's Nimshach and Velt. In that there's two efanim. What's the Inyan here? What's the Inyan in Elokus being Nimshach Tevel? Mitzad Zah and Mitzad Malchus. Mitzad Zah, the Nekuda is the whole fact that Elokus is Yered Kaviyach and Nimshach and Vel. It's not for the sake of the Metzias of the world, for the Metzias of the Zulas. It's all Echetinsa that Elokus is in Yonam Shabin Esgala. So the Eibusher, let's say, has the mile of being a Beir to create Yesh Ma'ayin. So in order for the Eibusher's Kayach to be in Esgala, the Echetinsa is a Sever Tavel. So if the whole purpose of why the world is creating is just the Echetimsa, that the Eibusher's Kayach, the fact that the Eibusher's a Beir should be in Esgala. So there's no meaning in the Zulas. There's no meaning, there's no chshivus, there's no worth, there's no value to the other as a thing for itself, as a reality for itself. The whole Tfisas Makim of the Zulas is only as a Echetimsa to bring out the Eibusher's miles. Versteht the meaning? Mashiach mitzad Malchus is al derech like by a person, the Kayach HaDibur, that Indian, the Nekud of Kayach HaDibur is not to express myself through someone else. It's the idea to make space to communicate something to someone else. So al derech mitzad Malchus, the Nekud is that the Eibusher is going to create a world, not to express himself through creating the world. It's Tzfiras HaMalchus, the Eibusher get b'shaf avel. What's the purpose? Because there's a value that the world should exist. We'll see later what's the Indian Shabbat, but it's two separate inyanim. So that's what we're saying here. Just to give a mashal, just to bring out this point, more masim to the Kodesh says in the Gabizah. You say that mashal, someone's just this alta dugma. I'm just going to use this example. If someone wants to buy a flashlight, let's say, so you want to get a very strong flashlight, so you turn on the flashlight to see how far the light goes. So you're able to see what's going on in that far place. You turn off, you're able to see what's going on there. But your point is not that you're looking for something in that far place, and therefore you use the flashlight to be able to see what's going on over there. You're looking to buy a flashlight, so you want to see how strong the light is. In order to see how strong the light is, you have to turn on in a dark place to turn on the flashlight to see how far it goes. How are you going to see something there? Your Indian is not to see. There's one if a person turns on the light of a flashlight because he wants to see what's going on in that far place. He's looking for some atbeya somewhere far. So therefore he turns on the light as a chetimtza to see the far matbeya that's there. And there's another reason why a person turns on the light the light. Not because he's asin to see what's going on in that far corner. Just to know how strong the light is. So there is a difference between the chshivas of Eilim is mitzad zah and the chshivas of Eilim is mitzad malchus. Mitzad zah, the whole nekud of zah is that the Eibusher's ain't saf shebin esgala. How is the Eibusher's blikvul gebin esgala? If there would be no velt, so it's bringt sich nicht der reis, the Eibusher's ain't safe. Because where's the lukus Meir? Only kaviyach on the realm of a lukus. But that the Eibusher's er can be nimshach even to nidrike velt, that's not Nizgala mitzad if there wouldn't have been any Sabbath. So in order for there to be Nizgala, the Eibusher's ain't safe, darf Pashafen verna velt, and nidre b'ya bri tzirasi and nidrike velt, and afa b'kein lukus as Meir in that world. So then, vert Nizgala, the Eibusher's bligvol. So what's the mashmos? What's the chshivas as a verta vaita welt? We're interested that there should be a world, or that's only a chetimsa to bring out Eibish's blik vol. It's only a chetimsa to bring out Eibish's ain't safe. So mitzad the elements the way they're having mitzad zah, there's no chshivas, there's no value to the mitzvahs of the world itself. I'm saying, you say in the mashal, lu yitzir, the whole mitzvahs of the far place would be neshave mitzad in order to bring God the takeoff of the air, so you have to have a far place. So lu yitzir, the whole mitzvahs of the far place would be neshave just for the sake of this purpose of bringing out the takeoff of air. So there would be no chshivas in the mitzvahs outside of bringing out the blikful of the air. So mitzad zah, there's no value in eilemis outside of the fact that durch zever tareiz gebracht the Eibish's ain't safe, the Eibish's blikful. That's mitzad zah. We'll see why this is again the Hemshech and the Kavin Neshama is the man. Okay, it's not going into why is the Eibish's kavanah to be megalis keishes. I'm saying the nukud of zah is that the gili of Ein Sof, the gili of Elokus, that's the nukud of zah. And the meile mitzad zah, the mitzvah of welt is just a chetimtzah to bring out that the Eibishter's eir is blikvul. We'll see the pratim how it plays the Sefat Gavin Neshama. Mashinki mitzad malchus is the Eibishter goes in his mahava of welt. Should be a zulas. And we'll see the Hemshech what's the purpose of the zulas. We'll just see the it says the Gabizah. It says ukiyadua the zah was sof elam ein sof. V'nimtza rei b'chlal elam ein sof. Elo shebchina seif means what's the nukud of zah attaches here? So the lashon in state in Kabbalah is that zah is called seif elam ein sof. So he attaches. What does it mean that it's seif elam ein sof? It's the end of the world of ein sof. What does that mean? So he says b'chlal atzilus is b'chlal ein sof. Elo shebchina seif. What does it mean? It's b'china seif. Hainu shezeh b'china hamshachas v'gilia er atzilus. Means the nukud of zah is that the Eid of Atzilus, which what's the Eid of Atzilus? The Eibishter's Kaviyachol Keiches, Chachma, the Eibishter's Chachma, the Eibishter's Bina, that Eir should be Nizgalit, should be Nimshach. That's the nukud of zah. That's Seif Ilam Yisrain Seif. Seif Ilam Yisrain. And he's going to explain by Hemshech how that plays itself out in the Neshama, which Ikra is B'china zah, how his Aveda is in a different Eif in the Neshama, which comes from Malchus. We'll see in a minute. Then he says, Vaiter. In Malchus, in B'chinas Malchus, B'chinas Sheir Shemakar Debya Shabatzilus. In Yoni of Malchus is not that Atzilus should be Nimshach Lamata, not that the Eibishter is in Yonim Kaviyach should be Nimshach Lamata. To be a Makar for Welt, that's in Yoni of Malchus. Yoni Malchus B'chinas Sheir Shemakar Debya Shabatzilus. Punkt is if you say when they get the Dibur Nefesh Adam. In Yoni of Dibur, the function of Dibur is not that the Nefesh should be Meir to a lower place. The Nakud of Dibur is to communicate to someone else, to make space for someone else, and whatever he needs to explain to him. Not that the nefesh should be in his galit, two azulas. That's what he's saying here. Sheir shemakar debya shabatzilus. He says the gam b'yeseh batzilus is shayach le'elam azbiyah. He's saying the two tzavis of biyah of malchus and zah. The nakud of zah is the amshach of gilei atzilus, and therefore even the way it's in biyah, it's in yoni is never biyah. It doesn't relate to the elements of to the biyah because the whole nakud of biyah like zah is just a chetimsa to bring out that Atzilus is not mugbal to be Meir Dafkin Atzilus. He could be Meir also, yeah, to bring out the bleak vol of Eir of Atzilus. So he never, even when Mitzad B'china Zah, even when we're Kaviyachol Yored to be Nimshach B'yah, we never relate to the reality of B'yah. Because the whole Mitzvah of B'yah Mitzad Zah is just a chetimsa to express the takeoff of the Eir of Atzilus. Mash'inkin B'chinas Malchus is the opposite kotze. The opposite extreme. The Nukud of Malchus is, even the way it's in Atzilus, its Indian is not that Atzilus should be Nizgal. Its Indian is that the Eibishter is a makkah for Metzias, for Biyah. He says, Ava b'chinas zah, hu mashashayach la'atzilus. Okay, do any kruv echad mikatzim is it says there's two kruvim. So the lashon that says in the pasuk is, kruv echad mikatzim is there's one kruv on one side, one kruv on the other side. So I'll tell you, in Tera'er, the what's that kruv echad mikatzim is that there's one kruv, there's one inin elukus, which is the seif of elukus, which is its inin is the amshacha of elukus lamata. Then there's a kruv echad mikatzim. There's another kruv which in Yoni is the sheir shemakar of nivraim. It's two separate, coming from two different tzavos. He teaches. So shein zo malchus, which are the base pchina shemutzat datzos. Because they're maskal miitencha. Oh, so now listen to what he teaches legabi ba'negel in yenenu legabi neshama. It's like this. Ulezais pchina zah datzilis. Which what's the function of pchina zah? Shemamshach gila eir datzilis. The whole nekud of pchina zah is that the eir datzilis should be nimshach. So where is the bimamshach this eir and biyah? But his Indian is not biyah. His Indian is that Atzilus is Ershib Nimshach biyah. But he never relates to biyah as a chshivus, as a value for itself. The Nekud is that Atzilus is blikvol kibin Nimshach lamata. So therefore he says, in Neshamis and Nimshach misham gam b'ridasim b'biyah in b'chinas Atzilus. So the Neshamis which are Indian is to bring out the b'china of Zah, they never relate to legabe them. They never relate to the Mitzvah of Vel. So even they come down into Welt, but what's the point? As if the Nukud of Za is. What's the Indian of Za? That a Lukus should be Nimshach and Bia. There's an Neshama that Tzil Shamushash and Za. The Indian is that the Neshama should be Nimshach Lamata. That the Neshama should be Nimshach in Welt. You say the same thing. There's a Neshama and a Guf. The Shaila is what's the Mechuvan of Yidus Neshama Lamata? What are we? What's the Nukuda here? To bring out the take of the Neshama that its in Yana could be Nirgash, its in Yana could be Meir, even Lamata. So we said that. So. Or the Nekuda is that the Neshama is just a chetimtza to work with the Guf. The Guf has certain values, and the point of the Neshama is to work with the Guf. That's the same chiluk between Za and Malchus. Mitzad Za, the whole Nekuda of Bia is, of Elam, of Azulas is, just a chetimtza to bring out the take of Atzilis. So Neshama, which is in Yoniat Za, the inyan of that Neshama is not to bring out and to be mezachich the Guf. The reason, the Nekuda of Yiras Neshama Lamata is to bring out the take of the Neshama. That Elokus, the Keach Elikiv, the Neshama has no limits, and it could even be Nimshach and Nizgali, even in the Guf. But the Nekuda is not to work with the Guf to bring out the Guf smiles. There's no, the whole Nekuda of a Guf is a Chetimtza to bring out the takeover of the Neshama. And that's why it never relates to Eilamis. Because the Gabi Neshamas, that's the Gabi Neshamas, which are Nimshach from Zah, there is no Metzias of Welt. The whole Metzias of Welt is a Chetimtza to bring out the Elokus. That there should be a Metzias of Azulas. There's the Neshama's Indian is not that the Neshama should express itself in a Guf. That the Neshama should work with the Guf to bring out qualities that the Guf has. That's what you're going to see by Hemshech. You versteht the Nekudas Advarim. It says like this. It's in the tight shop. We'll see the Neshama. So why even Ba'aris means the Metzias of Eretz is not Yichud. The Metzias of Eretz is Pirut. Zulas in Yana is Pirut. Yeah, Eretz, Elamus. Elamus in the Kuda is not the Hergish of Bittul Talukust, not the Hergish of Dveikus Hamakar. Eretz is a Metzias. Why do you have Tzadikim which they're Dogim? They're Yidgu B'Kerev Eretz. They're Pchinas Dogim, they're Pchinas Dveikus. So they don't relate to the Gedra of Elamus. The Gedra of Elamus is Pirut, not Dveikus. So what's the pshat? You have tzaddikim, which their Indian is dogma shebiyam, which are ptelim michadim elokus betachlis k'mei abitl v'yichad b'chines atzilis. Kaviyachad, they don't relate to the gather of elements. Why? Either nimshach and velt, and you have Moshe Rabbeinu was tuter and velt. If it's in Yani is dogim, so was tuter in elam hazeh. Elam hazeh in Yani is not is the character of elam hazeh is not bittul and dveikus. The character of elam hazeh is yesh. Was tut Moshe and velt because Moshe's Indian is to bring out the bleak vol of the bittul of atzilis that it can be even nimshach lamata. So the in Yani is not veltak. In Yani is that to bring out how Atzilis can be nimshach even in Velt. That's v'yid gula rebekayavars. They're in the world to bring out that what? That even in Eilamis, even in Aretz, you could have dog. That's their nekuda. They never relate to the Metzias of Aretz. Let's skip the brackets a minute. V'lechein is shamis elu the b'chinas ma ikar avdas l'matam mitzad nishmasam dafke. B'chinas bittul b'metzias ma mishach b'chinas iskashas dikas atzmi lelukus. V'hein anikram ev devav b'nishmasam. Rabbi Shav says you have neshamis. Like that's what I was saying before. Punkt das Evinyani of Za is the Gilead Atzilis Lamata Al Derech Zeh. These neshamas, even though they're in a guf, their Indian is not to be mezachich the guf. Their Indian is that the neshama should be meir lamata. So what's the point of having a guf? That's to bring out that the neshama is not mukbal and it could even be meir lamata, but not to work with the guf. Ash'ek neshama is the band. He says, Aval neshama is the band. Ikar v'dosim bittul gufam dafke. Chines bittul ayesh levad. Their nekuda is not that their Indian is their aveda is not to be megale the neshama that the neshama can be made even lamata. Their nekuda is to be the guf lechatchil is a metzias yesh. Their Indian is to be mezachich the guf that the guf should become a keli talukus. Different type of aveda. Different type of Indian. They work with the guf and he teaches. He teaches. Bitla yesh levad. That's why it only stays bitla yesh. The neshama is since the guf. It's a different type of bitl. If your Indian is the neshama in Yani is the Ratchil, there's nothing else outside of a likus. So a neshama which is Indian is that the function of your neshama lamata is for the sake of being megala, the take of the neshama. So he's shaykhs to the madrega bittul b'mtzias. Because how is was for a start keshet halakus does that neshama have? The keshet of his neshama is meir by him. So the keshet of the neshama is bittul b'mtzias. Mash'enkin these neshamas, which their Indian is not that the neshama should be meir lamata, but to be parallel on the guf. That the guf should be battle talukos. The nature of the guf battle talukos is going to be in a different eifin than the neshama battle talukos because the guf is a yesh. There's a special way how a yesh could be mezuchach. It's an certain different type of thing. So they cannot shaykh as a bittul b'mtzias. I'll just give one pchina. He says in Hemshech Says Lamashal Moshe Rabbeinu says v'nasat in Chumash Dvarim which Moshe Mipiatz Miyamre. So Moshe Rabbeinu says v'nasati mitar artzchem b'yitay. Or different lashonos like that. Shaila is how could he say v'nasati? It's the Eibush gives matter, not Moshe Rabbeinu. The Shechina the bears mitach greiner. But the question is, he says this in only a yid. Mitzad the neshama lechatchil there's no metzias outside of Elokus. It's bottled in tzias Elokus. So only Moshe Rabbeinu, which be'emet Meir given the bittul mitzad his neshama, he was able to say v'nasati mitar artzchem. Masha'ink in David HaMelech, which was the bittul of Malchus, the bittul of the guf. So the guf, you can never say the guf, the eifan, a bittul of the guf is in a different eifan, and you cannot say v'nasati. We'll see Hemshech. Because David HaMelech was also David HaMelech wasn't stam in neshama. David HaMelech is a neshama that's Meir by him, that his function is that he's nimshach from Chinas Malchus, that's Tzilis. But since the Nekudah of Malchus is the Nekudah that even a guf could be batal Tolukus, so the guf's bittul is going to be in a different eifan than the neshama's bittul. So it's going to be an eifan a bittul layesh. We'll see that in the... It says. So when neshama's taban ikrev doesn't bittul gufim dafke, chinas bittul layesh levad, v'hainal pishe sharshim chinas Malchus, sharshim makar debiyah, v'chen yesh lem shayches al guf, ubezehu abidasim lifot bittul aguf. The bittul shemaz the guf chinas bittul layesh levad. Just to bring this also dogma that's brought on this, just to bring out this nekudah azay. You have l'mashal that the famous dogma between Avraham and Yitzchak. Was for Eifan at Avraham mashpia given on the Arvim? How is he mekarev the people to Lukus? So Avraham wasn't. It was the ikar of Avraham is chesed l'mayil lamata. What does it mean l'mayil lamata? Avraham's nekudah was that he was able to be masber chveis yanim Lukus even to Arvim. So Chassidus is Mother, he wasn't paying any zichuch. He didn't work Kaviyach with the Goyim that came to him. He wasn't Maila them. They stayed in their state the way they were. They're Pashat Goyim, that no one was saying anything. Avram had this let's say you have a Rav, that he has a Meir that Chosh beard that he could explain even a Seichel Omuk to a Yelet Katan. So here he's not Mezachich, he's not Maila. He doesn't. How does he bring the Indian to the young to the Yelet Katan? Not that being mizachich and ace edling the yellow cotton that he should be a keli to the Indian. He has a koyach to be masber the Indian even to someone that's very low. So how does the low person get the Indian? Because the seichel was the mashpia was able to be made the Indian to a very low target, but not by elevating the tachten to the Indian. That's one eifin of being. See the mashal of Avram that you bring. There's a place that has no water, it doesn't have potential for water. You bring water from somewhere else to this place. So there's Avram. He wasn't mezachich velt. He brought a lukus to velt. Avram, so that's mitzad the kava chesed, which is no lukus. Mitzad the fact that the Eibush is blig vos, even though the tachten is a yesh and he's not a keli for him, a lukus could be meir even the matter. That's one eifin. So the alien doesn't have the limit that he's only able to be meir in someone which is an edel keli. The alien is able to be meir even in a yesh. That's one eifin of being megala lukus. Another eifin is that that's the way Yitzchak Chfiras Be'eris. That you have a Rav that is not his kayach is not to be masber the seichot at Talmud Kotten. His kayach is to educate the Talmud and to be develop the kayachs of the Talmud, that the Talmud himself should be in a state that is able to understand the Indian. His Indian is not to explain the Indian to someone to Talmud Kotten. His chush is to develop the kayachs of the Talmud, that the Talmud himself should become should be able to understand the Indian. So then, when the Talmud doesn't understand it, it's not that the Rav brought the Indian down to him. The Rav elevated this Makabal that the Makabal himself should be a Keli for the Indian. Then when the Makabal is a Keli for the Indian, who does it relate to the fact that he was Taifasit? It's the Makabal. He developed the Chushiyat Talmud. It's a different Indian. There's one Eifin that you don't work with the Chushiyat Talmud. You bring the Indian down to the Talmud. Another Eifin is that you work with the Makabal and you develop his Keiches. And you bring out his potential that he has. And then his potential, he himself chaps whatever he's able to grasp. So then it's a whole different type of way of being mekarev the Indian to someone. So that's what we're saying over here also. There's one way is the guf is a davar gas. The guf is a yesh. One eifin is neshama the ma. Their Indian is that not to be mezachich the guf, that the neshama should be meir even the mata. That's one eifin. So then the neshama is going to be meir, but the guf they didn't change the nature of the guf. The neshama is meir lamata. That's Pchinazah. Pchinazah l'chatchila, there's no chshivas to the Metzias of Vel. The whole Nekudah of Elam is that a Lukus should be meir even in Vel. Ash'inkin Pchinas Hashem is the Malchus, the Nekudah of Malchus is, what's taka the beer pnimi? That there's a kaya that a Lukus is nice and mucking for a Zulas, is Mahava Zulas. What's taka the Nekudah? And the Nekudah is that the fact that that there's bittul and vekas telekus is not only there's a special mila that's expressed in malchus that Zod doesn't express. The malchus expressed in malchus is that even a zulas mitzad his mitzias also is searches to be batal telekus. Not in order for there to be connection to telekus, it's not only because the Eibishter has to be mayor and has to come to the other place. Even on zulas, even on nivra. Mitzad his own accord, mitzad his own initiative, kaviyachol, also is able to come to the state of bittul telekus. That mile is dafka through midas hamalchus. Midas hamalchus kaviyachol, the Eibush is milim his milas, his inyanim, and he's mahava azulas. What's the kavanah pnimis and meget mahavas and azulas? To bring out that even azulas is also misugol to become a keli telekus. Not by bringing a lekus to the zulas, but by him himself becoming by being mizachach the nivra, by being mizachach the guf itself. Yeah, there's beauty, but that's the Beifan Klali, the Nakoda that he's saying it. That's what he says here. It says, Avan Neshama is the ban ikar doesn't bittul guf from that. It means their Indian is not to be bring the Neshama down to the guf. Eis edlan the guf. Means there's a special kesher to lekus that the guf could have, which the Neshama doesn't have. A metzias zar, a metzias zulas is a unique connection that the guf could have to lekus. But in order to bring that out, you have to work on the guf. You have to be mezachid, you have to be mevatel it. And then there's to mail it behind ulafi. This inyan that even a zulas could also have a shaykhas a bittul telekus. That's the nekuda b'chinas malchus nelukus. That's sherish makar debia. Lechein yesh lem shaykhas leguf. Ubezau avidasim lifut bittul leguf. Yeah. The bittul and b'meila the bittul shad leguf b'chinas bittul yesh levat. So it's a different type of bittul. It's not the same type of bittul. Let's skip the back. So he's going to. So this is the nekuda that he's going to be masber more productive now in this inyan. You understand the mahalach klali of the inyan, yeah? Lamar the way it touches. But you know. So the hin in sham is the ma da hit on uptouch the ikar as gas lamato who an sham shmeira begili etzlam. He's talking about the neshamis which by them yidna which by them is mayor than the neshama. Both dargers he's speaking out over here is yidna but by them is mayor. They're the neshama is a chelik kamimal. So it's mayor by them that their chayis is a certain expression of an inyan elokus. That's mayor begali by them. And that itself he speaks to dargers. Later he speaks about the regular neshamas like stamanashim kerkenu kaviyachol, which but the neshamas it's not mayor b'chlal by a person. His shadish and it's not mayor naturally in consciousness. His shadish the way we are in Atzilus. But here he's speaking about neshamas yidden, which the way the neshamas melubish beguf is mayor by them the neshama. It's mayor by them that they're chelik al kamimal and their inyan their chayim and the chayim of their neshama is a gilui of an inyan elukus. And that itself he speaks to Ifanim. Neshama is the ma'ikar as gas lamato one neshama. Shemeira begilis. By them, even though the neshama is melubish from guf, was like by is the neshama. Ira begili best. What's with the guf? Haguf rak ketafel. That's what I was saying before. What's the guf rak ketafel? They have the chabari. They don't get hungry. So punkt as if we say benegeh to za mitzad za. If the whole mitzias of Welt would be nesava only mitzad za. So what's the function of Welt? Just the echetim to bring out the blig vol of Atzilus. Then anything outside of the need to bring out the blig vol of Atzilus wouldn't exist. If the whole mitzvah of Elmas would be nesava, just mitzad p'chanazad Atzilus. So the other inyanim of this world, which are not conducive to bring out the blig vol of Atzilus, but wouldn't exist. So al derech zeh, if mitzad the neshama is the Atzilus, neshama is p'chanazah, and they have no shaykhis to malchus, so their guf is the way a guf is mitzad p'chanazah. So what's on the code of the guf? Just to bring out that the neshama is able to be mayor, even the matter. So anything in the guf outside of that doesn't exist. So in these neshamas, the guf is like tafel b'chlal. The guf is only a chetimtza to bring out the take of the neshama. But the guf as a mitzvah for itself doesn't exist milchatchila. So the enim ala master klal there nishmasa. You say, how could he brings up the guf? Shomer v'nesat ti metar artzachem. So a guf is mitzad the gather guf is a yesh. If by Meishabin the guf would be a mitzvah, there would be a reality of a yesh, even to be mevatel the guf ala good zachen. But to say the guf can't save an asati. If the guf relates to himself, that's a true of mitzvahs. Mitzad guf a true mitzvah is a stirat alakus. If you're mitzad neshama lechatchil, there's nothing else outside of alakus. So a neshama could save an asati and means alakus because the neshama lechatchil there's nothing else. There's no identity outside of alakus. Mashayk in a guf isn't a guf. Matmahavik in a guf. A guf is an other thing. So even when you're mevatel the guf to alakus, but that this other should say I and mina alakus, that's kaminished because its I is a guf. So how is Moshe been able to say a neshama beguf to say vanasati? Because there was no reality of a guf b'chlal. Lechatchila, what was his whole guf? Just a chetimtza for the neshama to speak loud. His whole mouth was just that the neshama should be able to express itself physically. There was no reality of a guf. That's taich. That's mean it's b'chinas tofel etzlam. Ve'enim al master klal in shmasam. K'meshem shaman satim tarzichem. Shaman satim shmasam is nichedes dukam mamash ve'erin tzapar. Ay guf k'tofel b'amash in alam klal. Aval neshama sheb'chinas malchus. He's speaking about even neshamas being dugmas tzadikim. So these are neshamas yeshlem shayches al guf. Means the guf is a metzias like a them. Sfara zazach was fert ungeruf and a guf. And what's the nature of a guf? A shtik flesh. Yes. And memela guf master alim. If the guf is a reality, if the guf is not only a chetimtze for the neshama to be in his god, there's a reality of value to the reality to the metzias of the guf. Memela the guf is master. And then even the bittul is going to be a different type of bittul. It's via yesh vert bittul, an understood bittul. You see the dogma of Rav Talmud, if the Rav is explaining his svara and he's able to explain it even to a lower Talmud, what's the Talmud going to be saying? The Rav's svaras. Mashiach, if the Rav doesn't say his ideas to the Talmud, his chush is to develop the Klei Talmud. Then when the Talmud is saying ideas, it's going to be the Talmud's ideas, not the Rav's. So there's here when you mevatel the guf, what's for a cert product do you have? The way a yesh is battle. It's a different type of bittul. Bittul yesh levad. So the kumekin who gam ben neshama sagvayis mechin hasheman means even tzaddikim as bazei is meir the sheirish natzilus, but their inin is malchus. So gam ken ikram bittul bezuchel gufam. Ella shu b'chinas zichuch betachlis at shaguf nepach legamri mitzvus ruchni. Means neshama is that by them is meir kaviyachol the epitome of sfiras hamalchus. What's the epitome of sfiras hamalchus? Malchus is to bring out that in order for there to be dvegas tolukus, you kaviyach is not only mitzad the Eibishter being nimshach lamata, but even a zulas is also mitzad his own tchunis is also mechayv bittul tolukus. And the epitome of this in it that even a zulas is bittul tolukus, that's by neshamas agvay is the ban. That's b'chinas elyon navi that he is mezachich his guf at kedekar that his guf kol inyane became a ruchni. Nepach legamri matzias ruchni. K'mil b'diyo sheguf enasik meguf hamalach v'olo l'mayla. Shenizachich yeseg am guf hashamesh. Yeah. He says shenizachich yeser gam meguf hashamesh. Sheguf itzaruk k'vura. Meisha ben his guf lepoil wasn't this ale b'sar hashamayim. Means the guf needed k'vura. But sheken eliyo ole b'guf hashamayim. Which is why Moshe Rabbeinu Chal never dealt with his guf. B'shas he touches in the Gago another prat in them. But the Nekuda Kos is when the Moshe Rabbeinu was alive. Lechatchila there was no he wasn't conscious kaviyachol of his guf. There was no reality of a guf b'chlal because there was only a chetimsa for the neshama to be made. So when his guf was just a way in order for the chveis the divrei Torah should be in his gala begashmis. You have to have a physical mouth. But outside of speaking divrei Torah, there was no reality of a mouth b'chlal. Lechatchila there wasn't marigish a guf. So the bittul had nothing to do with it's not that the inyani of the guf was to be battle. So B'shasi was alive, the guf b'chlal, he wasn't sent, the guf b'chlal wasn't nirgash. After there was period the neshama mea guf, so now the guf is nirgash as the guf's inyan, and that was never nizdachich, so that was tzarech gvura. Mashiach Eliyahu by him, the Aveda was to be mezachich the guf. And he was mezachich the guf b'tachas, that the guf because the home of his guf became, the physical guf inyani was to express and to be batal tolukus, to be a keli tolukus. And he was misalik any inyan of yeshes in the guf outside of its being a keli tolukus at the misalik event. So that guf became kosher, became davak tolukus, and it was all the besar hashemayim. Different inyan. All the guf hashemayim. Huh? There was no such a metzias. In every state of his life, he was always in the neshama was meir begilabeh. Different inyan. He says, "Mekom kim hayguv shamesh bato betachlis." It wasn't. He wasn't. There was no hergesh aguf melchatchila. It's ach amad am the veis kavas nevuah. He guf ikele lekus. He says another verse. We add some that go. It says the Rambam says that when it gets all the neviim that b'shas they hear the nevuah, so their chush aguf are mizbatel. Nevuah is a certain gilei eliki, which is higher than the kelim of the guf. So b'shas the navi has this galus of the nevuah, the guf loses its balance kaviyach, and some neviim fall asleep, and so the Rambam gives the whole tzir over there that the guf, if the guf is going to be in its emed al amde, it's going to be a metzias, it's going to be functioning regularly. He can't have gilei nevuah. Only when the guf loses its takeif, and if he loses his balance, then he could have gilei nevuah. So that's why all the Mashiach Moshe Rabbeinu, the guf is amid al amde. There was no shviras hakelim b'shas yad gilei nevuah. He was Emed al Amde, and after the Kendi was Gila Nevuah. Why? Because his guf is a keli to this Galas of Elikus. So if his guf is like, that means that, so if his guf is a keli, so why? So we zakh nishpet the guf itzarach gvura. So Rebbe Shabbos Mazur, because the guf is a keli, because the chatchila the homitzis the guf was a chetim for the neshama. But not that the guf would never relate, the bittul never related to the guf in itself. Meishav in his guf, the chatchila wasn't a mitzvah. That's what he teaches here. In kolm guf shemesh bat bahaz asher amed alam de is kalas nevu. Vish guf kedi the kush kasmar. Vish shlemer the meisha he mitzad he bittul guf mitzad galas in shmasi. Says valdara kamay in avaya echad she'elam batel b'mtzias be'emes. Vish be'emes meir atzman himself begide be'elam. We do a makacher. Kamay kim meisha mitzad galas in shmasi is vatam mela guf mtzias. And you know them shadar chayichad avaya echad ma'al lamat. It says that there's two biyurim, so to speak. Say avaya echad means that there is no mitzias outside of Elikus. Shaila is the chodesh v'shafik varna velt. The chodesh, there's a world that was created. So there's one beer, the be'etze, the be'emes in this world is meir erin sof begili lamata. It means adarach what I was saying before. Mitzad erin sof, what's the whole mitzias of velt? It's just the echetimsa to bring out the ebish's bligvol. Ebs of what meir given in velt, that its whole mitzias is just the echetimsa. The whole mitzias of that place was just to bring out that the flashlight's light is strong. That's not called that there's mitzias outside of Elikus. That's achtas. Then there's achtas havaya echad. The only mitzias is the ebishter. Mitzad the gili of his bligvul, you need a makim rachik to bring out his bligvul. That makim rachik is not a mitzias outside of Elikus. So there's a beer in achtas havaya the chorei gvarna velt. The whole mitzias of velt is not a mitzias. Lechatchila the whole mitzias of velt is just the echetimsa to bring out the ein sof of Elikus. And mitzad that inyan, mitzad that darga, so there's no mitzias of velt lechatchila. That's yichud havaya milmayla lamata. Then there's another beer yichud havaya milmata lamata means the reason why the world is not a mitzias because the pnimius velt also in yoni is to be batel. That's the yichud milmata lamata. That's a lerchel yoan navi. That's what he's masber here. He's making mention mitzad this galus nishmasin is batel mela guf mitzias. That means the chatchila the whole mitzias the guf was the way the neshama looked at the guf. And mela the guf was batel mitzias. Okay, he speaks pratim which is not neget. The Elam went through these pratim. Huh? Okay, there's pratim. I don't know if we have to go through every single prat. Lama zen v'chein David. You see v'chein David? Yeah, it's a guf being battle. It's not the neshama's bittul being meir lamata. It's the guf being battle telekus and understart bittul. It's that a mitzias is mevatel itself telekus. Not that a lekus is meir biz it's nirgash no mitzias. Is that a mitzias is battle telekus. It's an understart in you. You say what's the mashal of malchus? See also this says ein melech b'layam. Why can't you be a melech when you get a person can't be a melech on his kids? Bonim, as you can't be a melech on your own bonim. Why? Because they're not something else. A melech is that there's an other and he's a melech agabeim. But what's the nekudesh of it? The mile of malchus is there's a special mile that even a zulas, without the person imposing himself kaviyach on the zulas, someone else also mitzad is also deirish that he should be the balabas. That's the mile of malchus. Usually, in order for the person to be person to be mayor somewhere, in order for the person's mitzias to be needed somewhere, it's by him expressing himself. The Nekudah of Malchus says that even a zulas, an other which has no shaykhs to the alien, even the zulas is deirish to have that the alien should be his balabas. And the Nekudah of Malchus is that the emes of Elikus is not only mayor mitzad the Eibish's point of view, even the velt mitzad the inyani of primi of velt is to be megal Elikus. It's an underserved Indian. And there's different biyurim in it, but that's basically what he's saying here in the Nekudah of Malchus. So that's a different type of bittul. It's that even a mitzias inyani is batul Elikus. So it's the way a mitzias is batul. The way a mitzias is batul, he's going to touch up on the Gabi David more pratim. The way a mitzias is batul is not the way a neshama which l'chatchila not a mitzias. L'chatchila the only thing is keich of Elikus. Here is a nivra being batul. It's always a nivra being batul. It's never only to save an asat tim etar artzachem is the l'chatchila is something else besides what the Eibush is speaking. Only by a neshama l'chatchila garnish outside of Elikus being nizgal. There was a mitzias, not a lukus. And this mitzias is batul betachlis talukus. Huh? Yeah, but it's a mitzias that was a salah. It's the azulas is mevatel himself legamri to the alien, and he gives himself away fully for the alien. But it's not the alien himself. It's always a mitzias being mevatel itself to the alien. That inyan is a mitzias. Does the chilik? Why couldn't Eliyahu say ben esatim et haratzichem? Why dafka Moshe Rabbeinu? Because Moshe Rabbeinu is lechatchila does something else outside of Elokus. He was miyuchid. Mashiach Eliyahu, there was no yichud. It wasn't only one thing. It was a guf, a zulas, was such in ganzem mevatl gewinnt Elokus. He was in ganzem mevatl himself, to the extent that his guf, let's say the whole nekud of his guf was to bring out the mile of malchus. In zayin guf at Meir given, the nekud of pnimis, why the Eibush is mahava guf, which is for the purpose of bringing out that even azulas could be batul. But what type of bittul is it that azulas could be batul? It's never that there's only the elyon. It's a different type of inyan. The seven asatim et haratzichem is only if there's only the elyon. So the Eibush read zaktim asatim et haratzichem. But if it's a metzias which is batul, even after this, it's a guf that's Allah. It's a metzias that was in ganzen Allah talikus. But I understand what's the pshat that is guf was Allah legambi. But in general, the point is that in Eliyahu of his guf at Meir given, that the mekudah primus of a guf is to bring out malchus. But at the end, but what is malchus? That even a zulas is batul. So the gather of zulas is never this batul there. A different type of inyan. He touches up more bam choshe legabi David. You see, he says legabi David Amalek. He says v'chein David shei nishmas imchnas malchus. So that's why this is an interesting thing here. That's why heilamata v'chenas bittul b'cheimer gufei dafke. David Amalek's bittul was always that the chumris is being mevatel the guf. Sheyilev nishbar v'nit ketamid. Always in a even of shvira. Mishkazik ane ve'avinani. He says the bittul zed the lev nishbar v'nit kev'chiyane ve'avin zeo dafke b'misha bittul mitzad the guf. Because guf mitzad atzmai kaviyachol is a yesh. So you have to be mevatel the yeshes. Mit was verbindet sich mit Nebishten that you're mevatel is yeshes. You're breaking himself. Bittul yeshes v'chumris dafke. Mashiach a bittul shem tzad neshama. Hagam shebittul b'chinas bittul mitzias mamish kol yesh mizag ba gamke. Mitzad neshama lechatchili, there's nothing else outside of Elokus. So Hagba is not a stiritit. Mitzad the nature of the neshama lechatchili in Yoni is the gili of Elokus. There could be a tnu of Hagba because it's not his Hagba. It's a Elokus being nisgala through him. Mashiach in a guf, Hagba is mitzad the nature of the guf. In order for the guf to be batal to Elokus, it has to be a tnu of bittul and shvira. Because mitzad atzmi is Viverta yesh batal tzalakus, that his yeshes is a little bit in his battle. His yeshes becomes weaker. A tnu of Agba is not shaykhis in the guf. That would be a stira. He said, he said, it's a tnu of Agba. He was a melech, the father even gesagt, er das beruchnis. Kein Rashbi, schon hat ktiris katane, ich bin bitte dama. Du schon schon am diskussion. Und kommen hier back book, man nas man baam, dem schneim himani ubanai. Means where is the gather that he's saying as I'm said word. What's for that tzaddikim could be in a tnu of Hagba, speak about themselves. He said nas man baam, im schneim himani be shimin bni. How was he able to say Amal about himself? Or Yosef was he's the mashpia for the whole Eretz Mitzrayim. So mitzad neshama, the whole musik of a yesh being a stira telekus, that's only mitzad guf. The Eibush is mahavik v'na velt, and the velt mitzad its teva as a yesh, and it feels itself, and feeling yourself as a stira telekus. Mitzad neshama, there's no mitzias of yeshes b'chal. The whole idea that there's a sense of self, and that's a gather of yesh outside of elikus, that's all mitzad the union of a havas of velt. Mitzad, if there wouldn't have been a mitzias of velt, Neshama is before there's this Havas of Velt. Neshama is that the Eibush is in Yanam Meir. There, the Tnu of Yeshes has nothing to do with the Tnu of Hagba, has nothing to do with Yeshes B'chal. Saying, how is Rashbi able to say the only tzaddik in this world is me? Or if there's two, it's me and my son. How is he able to speak like that? The idea about that feeling Kaviyachol, your Maila, or if your Maila is Meir, if you're conscious of your quality, it's a Nukud of Yeshes Tirat Elokus. That's inside the nature of the Guf. That's inside the nature of Velt. Mitzad neshama, the only thing that exists is elokus. So it's kaviyachol bittul being mayor won't be a stirit. It's bittul because the fact that hargashas atzmai, feeling a mile, is a stirit to bittul and is a sense of self. That's all mitzad the gather of the teva of the guf. Mitzad the gather of elamis. Mitzad neshama nishtaz ha'ini melchatchila. So, but neshama is the ma which lechatchila there's no reality of a guf. The only mitzias is neshama. So by them, Hargoshas Mailasa is not a gather of Yeshes B'chal. Because the whole nature of Yeshes doesn't exist in their world. And what's Hagbah is in and of a look. It's the Abish's mile is being nirgash. So when Rashbi felt his mile, him feeling his mile wasn't a stirat his bittul, because the whole metzius was a lukus being made. So what's the problem if his mile is nirgash? If his mile would be nirgash, would be a stirat, because mitzad teva guf hargoshas atzmi is a stirat. So since in Yoni was that be mezachich the guf, mitzad the nature of the guf, feeling, being conscious of a mile, is a stirat to bittul. So mitzad David HaMelech, which by him the guf is a mitzias, in order for him to connect to the Eibusher, he needed through a bittul achumnis. That he had to put himself down, be mevatel himself. Anechi selas v'leish. The Lashenis of the Melech said, he had to put himself down. If the yesh is bottom of the kafas, how is it? But Hagbas Atzmai, mitzad guf, Hagbas Atzmai is a stirat to bittul, is a stirat to feeling the makar. Inside the nature of the guf, if his milas are present, are conscious, so then the nature of the guf is to feel itself. If in order for the guf to be in a state of bittul, it has to be in a state of not feeling its quality. If its quality is going to be nirgash, it's going to be a stirat, it's bittul. That's the teva guf. So if you want a guf to be bittul, you have to work according to the nature of the guf. If you want the guf mitzad its tchunas to be bittul telikus, so the tchunas of the guf, if it's going to be conscious of its milas, it's going to be a stirat to being bittul telikus, to be margish the alien. That's the nature of a guf. So it's the Alter says in Terer that Yosef had tzaddik hid the case Tachas ben Yamin. The Alter says something Alter says that Yosef was in a high dargas, he was able to be margish his ava, but Kesef is ava. The case of Kesef is ava. Ben Yamin, the ava had to be hidden by him. If you'd be conscious of the ava that he has, what is getake? He had ava, but he wasn't able to be conscious of his ava tolikus. If you'd be nirgash by him, if you'd be conscious that I'm this madrega, would be a stirat his bittul. So mitzad geder aguf, hargoshas malosei is going to be a tnu of yeshes. If you want to be the guf to be connected to lukus mitzad the nature, mitzad the character of the guf, there has to be bittul. He shouldn't be margish malos atzmi. He should always being mevatel his chumrius, his hergish. Mashegim mitzad the shama, you don't have that tnu melchatchila, because that whole idea b'chlal, the whole notion that hargoshas atzmi is a stira doesn't exist inside the vault of the neshama. He could speak. Moshe was able to say Nasim. He brings the Gemara. He was able to say Anochi Yemed V'Navai B'Neichem. My Lassi was able to be Meir Begali, and it wouldn't be a stirat his bittul. That's what he's saying here. Yeah. You're saying a person is able to know about his milas. When is knowing about your milah chisaron? That's the shayla. So Hargoshas Atzmi is a chisaron. Why is it a chisaron? Because the nature of guf, Hargoshas Atzmi brings hergish mitziyuseh. Mitzad neshama, as ha'inin l'chatchila, there's no such a inin l'chatchila. That's his mechalik. Holding. V'adarab, he says, hagam shem b'tachas ha'bitl, mikom geshem b'chinas ha'gav ha'remes. V'adarab, b'zam said, etzim ha'bitl shalem. She'enim b'chinas mitziyas l'asman klal. V'meila agba, inek bas atzmi chas v'shalom. Kim agba, v'esnat so l'kus shabem, she'zau kol etzim osa. Avu, b'makom shabitl mitzad ha'guf, he says, even if we're dealing with Eliyanov, who b'chinas shiflas l'gamri b'lishum agba v'esnasas. Why? Because there it's going to be a stirat attack. Then a leave nishbar. But a bittul b'chinas hayeshes v'chumri is that. Because bittul yesh b'chal. Says v'gam k'mei shel amal b'chinas ibra b'malchus gam k'nei ikra b'zich chumra. Then it means in any darga, neshama is the ban even before the nimshach lamata. The nekuda is always being mekasher and mitzias telikus. Being mezachach azulas connecting to telikus. It means that neshama is mentioned zich chumra g'vies rov l'vashim. Zanis and lenkech leads b'chinas bittul guf and b'yiri dasam lamata. So until now we're speaking about tzaddikim, was by them is Meir and the neshama, the sheirish nalukus. But you have a chilik if it's mitzad b'chinas zah, the Indian is that the neshama should be Meir, mitzad b'chinas malchus, and kodesh bittul guf. Here he's speaking now stam as a yidden, and their guf we also see two different types. Yidden, which by them the neshama is not Meir begoli in their guf. Their marger stam as a the mitzias guf. The neshama is behelam v'hester. But Ava became we see a difference. He says making an array in b'harei b'nei adam sheyesh ben bitla yesh be'etzem. When they have a tunuvas eres Haves Hashem, just bring it out this way. Let's say we have regular people. So but the shaila is when they do have eres, there's two fanim. One, if someone has eres, the first thing that the eres brings out within him is to learn more, to be mizbenin more, to be meir by him more. Then when he has this eres Haves Hashem, that the kudah what he's searching for is that his neshama should be meir, to learn more, lukush should be meir more. You have someone else that when he has his Seiros, the Nekuda that comes up is to break himself more. Not you shouldn't let his goof sleep in the morning. You shouldn't eat. So that's two different types of. I'm not saying not everything reflects different types of neshamas, but he's saying even by regular people, there's a difference between there's yiddim which their ikar aveda is dealing with their goof, being mezachich the goof, being meshaber chumrius goof, and you have yiddim which their ikar Indian is that their neshama should be meir, not to be parallel on their goof. Even dealing with regular people. So you have someone that when he's this area, the first through is that my neshama should be meir more, be more asik more in yani kedusha, or not to let my goof be mispashed so much. Two different types of tenuas. That's what he says. So the on the in Bahari Cheshvan bitla yesh bet. Some yidden have bitla yesh be mevatel the chumris is should become a edi shaber libim chumris vatel mitzvah. Ve'im ev de avay begufam. By mitzvah kim mitzvah mamish umuna betem livav. Means that's madgish. The neshama is not meir by them so much. They don't have a sag in the because bli a sag is bonus v'avir sichlis kolkach. It's not that the neshama and the kechas of the neshama. The avir of the neshama is meir by them. It's not meir by them. But what's yebad gosha is it's easier for them to break their goof. By them it's beteva not to let themselves sleep and not even if they're hungry to continue going further. Not because the neshama is meir by them. Fakert. Bemuna betem levav. Bazeh is nicht meir avavir. The neshama is not meir by them. Avavikein by them it's easier for them to battle their goof. Why? Because the neshama is the nukva. And the neshama is the nukva. They have the quality of being mevatel, being mezachah the guf. They bring that out, but etzem the guf is not a stira. So mitzad those neshamas, they have the ability of work of zichah guf. Shama ikar b'chinas bitla yesh. Am neshama is the ma ikar avidasim b'chinas bitla mitzad neshmas. So you have a zalcha yidden that their main thing hasagav is bonus is not hard for them, but to break their guf they'll have a hard time. So they'll have an easier time. Chveis is bonus hasagav. But shviras aguf will be harder for them because their neshama is from b'chinas zah, and the neshama of b'chinas zah by zay nishtader koyach haviyachol to deal with the guf, to activate the guf. Saying that people it's going to be hard for us to work on the guf because we're not b'chlal activating the neshama. He's saying even a yid which by him the neshama is begilui, you have yidin which by them the neshama is begilui, so it's easier for them to work on the guf, and you have other yidin by them is easier even the neshama is begilui. The work on the guf is difficult. Vasya is their inyana and the shamar is more strong. Sag is bonus. Yeah, we'll just do the next part. Mamish Hemshech. So the call is a herfish canal. Sham is the mashim mchinas zah shayach mchinas atzilis. So their mohus is atzilis. Ve'hen sham is atzilis. Ve'hen shayachan al yesh is ve'chum is kolkav. I was saying before because mitzad the sham mitzad zah there's no gather of yeshes. There's no gather of mitzias. The whole mitzias about is a chetim to the atzilis should be meir lamata. Sham is the banj of chinas malchus and shayachim labriya, and their whole legabe them there is a mitzias of a briya. Ve'hen sham is the biyabachla. Ve'chen avidasim mchinas bitla yesh v'chumli. And it brings the dugma, yeah. Let's get the brackets. That's a long brackets. Okay, well, so we'll do the brackets also. Is nachalik. This year is David Elio and Neshama Datzilis. But chengam lamata hayuchumrim chines bitl mitzias mamish. Elio olu beguf David stachas in nesneis. Arad Neshama znei bechlotev mamish. Libe chol the kibish argu betanis. B'hayim v'shay Neshama Datzilis hay beguf mechumrim chines bitl mitzias. Means their Neshama Datzilis, they're by in their guf at mer given begidi the mechuven pnimi of the guf. Which the mechuven pnimi of the guf is to bring out that even a mitzias is batal, and so therefore they were batal betachlis. Am nikom came zeu mashapalu v'zichu gufam beifin kazeh. Canal ever been meishav aliyah. V'hayin shavidasim bitla yesh dachumnis. Zal fin shumasim b'chinas malchus. V'chanim sheichim b'chinas yesh lebar l'zachil. Shazichu betachlis canal. V'zav nesham zak vayis the ban. Shem zatzilus. And then there is nuchlos from nesham z'ban nesham z'bya. Nesham z'man nesham zatzilus. Okay, that's there's pratim here. But that's the nekuda klolis of what his mazber till now. So his mazber till now is that we have neshamas the ma and neshamas the ban, which are basically neshamas that tzilis and neshamas the bia. We're not leaving what the Eitz Chaim says that the difference between Evan and Ben is that this is neshamas that tzilis, this is neshamas the bia. But the question is why taka certain neshamas end up relating to velt and they become neshamas the bia and the velt is a metzias legabe them, and why certain neshamas even though the nimshach lamata velt does not become a metzias legabe them. Bia doesn't. They never identify themselves to bia. They stay at tzilis because it's totally on which Indian alakus they're nimshach from, and what's for Indian alakus they're here to express. If they're here to express the pchina of za, mitzad za lechatchila, there's no chshivus of a velt. The whole metzias of velt is just hamshachas eira at tzilis and velt. So therefore neshamas nimshach from za. Shamas Hagvais, which by them is mere the Sherish and Zalchatchil, the Guf is not a Messias, like Mesha Abir. The Chatchil, the Guf wasn't, the whole Messias of the Guf was that the Neshama should be mere. But even Stamaz Yidden, which have to do with this level of Neshamas, their Kayach is not to work with the Guf, their Indian is more that the Neshama should be mere Lamata. So by them it will be easier for Asaga and Isbanos, Avayira, that the Inyana and Neshama should be mere. Because their Kav and their Indian is to bring out the take of the Neshama that even though it's Yered Lamata, still it's able to be mere Lamata. That's the Neshama, the man Neshama is that Tzilus. Ashik Neshama is the ban, they're in their Nimsha from Chinas Malchus. And Koda Malchus is not that a Lakus is mere Lamata, but that mitzad the Lakus, even a Mata is batal, even a Metzias is batal. Therefore, those Neshamas have a Shaykhis to the Metzias of a Mata, of Guf. And their Indian is to bring out that even Guf, mitzad its own Tchunis Kaviyachu, could also reach a Nekuda of Bitl and Kesher Telekus. And even by low Neshamas, which is not the epitome of Bitl Telekus, but it'll be easier, they have the ability to be Mezachach their Guf, to work on their Guf. That's till now. Ubir Inyan, he adds another Knech in the ganze Meiser. Between Neshamas, okay, we'll see it Tuesday. Yeah. That's the closest the water zegers. That's the closest the Nekuda closest of the Union. El Mesteves Beifin Klali. Okay, that's it. From Ubir Inyan, that's where the Hemshech Advarim, this Maimer, the next Maimer start from Ubir Inyan. This is I'm saying till now the interesting Atzilus and Bia is at the end of the day, if Atzilus is, if the Nekuda is that a Lakus should be Meir, or the Nekuda is being Mezachach Metzias. Now he brings in a whole new Indian. He calls Atzilus. Just see the next line. It says Bir Inyan Dini Yedua. The close praise B'chinas Neshamas Anal, Neshamas Atzilus, Neshamas the Bia, B'chinas Zera Adam Zera Behema. Means he wants to explain what's taka the Maila of Neshamas Atzilus. We have two types of Avedis Hashem. Let's say, or two in Yodam and Elokus, Za and Malchus. So to be Mevair, what's the, and both of them are needed. Let's say in the Kavanah Sabriya. And both bring out a certain Indian Elokus. The Shal is what's the Maila of Neshamas Atzilus? What's the mile of being mamshech alakus? Alakus should be mer lamata. And what's the mile of zicha guf? Was for the inner vetnes gala through neshamas datzilis, and was for inner vetnes gala through neshamas the ban through being mezachah the guf. That's what he's going to come to explain. Bir Indian means we're mevayer two types of neshamas, two types of Hashem. The shal is what's the yisren pnimi in each pchina, in each eifin, and why they're both negeya for the kavanah sabriya. That's the general the nekudas hemshech. So to explain that, he's maktin that Atzilus and Bia is Adam and Behema. We'll see next week why isn't it get to be maktin that Atzilus is called Adam, and that's where he starts off the Indian. Okay, but Mamshel Zayin. We'll be Mamshel Tuesday.